Hi, I'm Louise Quick and this is Quick Histories. Welcome back. I'm so excited to be bringing you more history nerdery, especially this week because I want to tell you about a mighty medieval monarch that is Eleanor of Aquitaine, and she definitely qualifies as mighty. During her time in the 12th century, she was not only the Queen of France but also the Queen of England, and even attempted to overthrow her second husband, the King of England. As far as medieval monarchs go, she's pretty cool, so let's find out how she did it. Eleanor of Aquitaine married the King of France before then marrying the King of England, who she then attempted to overthrow. This was a woman with some serious power in medieval Europe. But before we dive into the soap opera that is just all of that, first things first, who was Eleanor of Aquitaine? Eleanor was raised rich, cultured, well-educated, and most importantly, at just 15 years old, she inherited a huge part of what is now southern France and was then called Aquitaine, thus her name, Eleanor of Aquitaine. This essentially made her the most eligible woman in Europe. She's beautiful, she's rich, she's got huge tracts of land. Anyone? Can you get the reference? Yeah. So now we have husband number one, Louis VII of France. Eleanor was 15, Louis was 17, and together they became king and queen, ruling over a chunky bit of French territory. The only problem is they didn't really like each other. It's clear that Eleanor never intended to play the quiet and demure wife. In fact, she was actively involved in decision-making in France, and when Louis set off and led armies to the Crusades in 1147, Eleanor went with him, which is pretty cool. I mean, Crusades aren't cool. They weren't good. No to the Crusades. But the fact that she sort of went with him and was actively involved is pretty cool. However, by this point, their relationship was not good, and the disastrous Crusades definitely didn't help. Marriage counselling tips from history. Do not go on a crusade together. It won't help. Don't try it. Other reasons that are often quoted for the fact that their relationship fell apart was their inability to have a son, which obviously the blame immediately fell on Eleanor. And secondly, strange rumours about Eleanor and her uncle, but I do not have the time to go into those now. Whatever the reason, their relationship and their marriage was not good, and eventually in 1152 they divorced. But Eleanor wasn't messing around. Within 2 months she was married to husband number 2, Henry II. At 30 years old, Eleanor of Aquitaine married the 19-year-old Henry of Anjou, who very quickly became Henry II of England thanks to some very complicated history involving his mother, the Empress Matilda. Eleanor and Henry had about 8 children together, 5 of which were sons. Take that, Louis VII. And in between her many pregnancies and labours, again, Eleanor was actively involved in running and governing the Kingdom of England, which now included her territories in the south of France. So by medieval standards, everything sounds great. There's babies, there's ruling, all good medieval queen stuff. But then, in 1168, things changed a lot. Eleanor left Henry, returned to her homelands in Aquitaine, set up her own court, and then 5 years later was arrested for treason for attempting to overthrow her own husband, Henry II. I'll be honest, the history around the reasons why she decided to revolt against Henry are pretty vague. Either way, Eleanor and some of her sons, the teenage princes, gathered in France and plotted against their husband and father, Henry II. Long story short, the coup failed. And while Henry was quick to forgive his sons, Eleanor spent the next 16 years locked up. It was only in 1189, when Henry II died and his crown was passed to his son Richard, that Eleanor was finally released. This Richard is Richard the Lionheart. Haven't got time to go into that yet, but yes, he's real. So Eleanor was released. But more than that, she was restored to her full glory, and at 67 years old, again, 67 years old in the 12th century, she assisted her son Richard in running the English kingdom, especially because Richard was off gallivanting and crusading for most of his reign. So Eleanor's often remembered as this exceptional medieval woman, which personally I think is a little bit rude towards all the other awesome medieval female leaders that there were. However, she's definitely impressive, and what I think is the most impressive thing about her is her sheer determination and her ability to survive. Her story is essentially one of her outliving all of her male relatives. All of them. maybe not her grandchildren. She lived until she was 82 years old, and in her time on Earth, she ruled alongside 4 different kings: Louis VII, Henry II, Richard I, and John I. If there was ever anyone you needed to consult on how to be a medieval queen, I think it would be Eleanor. So there we go, that's a whistle-stop tour of Eleanor of Aquitaine and her sort of marriage politics. I think you'll agree she is a pretty cool lady. Remember, if you like this video, please give it a like, share it with your people, subscribe to Quick Histories, or give me a follow, depending where you're watching this. And you can always, if you want to share... Oh, I've got a kitty cat on my lap. Come say hello. You care about Eleanor of Aquitaine? No, that's fair enough. And you can always share some love by buying me a coffee on my Ko-fi page. I want to give a massive shout out and thank you to everyone and anyone who has already contributed. It means so much to me, thank you. Otherwise, I'm off to set up my own court in the south of France and make some plans to overthrow a few governments. History fact.